Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 15. Today, we just might be able to get ourselves on the road towards some kind of financial stability. Of course, the main contributor will be the refinery, which will begin operation today, and the construction itself will be quite fast. It will progress so quickly, that we will be able to start focusing on the rest of the area, bringing everything important online before the episode is over, and we will be able to start exporting both fuel and bitumen today. We will also manage to buy ourselves a couple firefighting helicopters, rendering all other form of fire safety equipment we have obsolete. As for what we will do in the meantime, well, it will be a bit of decorating, a bit of micromanagement of the construction sites, and a couple small stuff we need to deal with around town. The usual. Before we get started, if this is not your first video from this channel, you already know what to expect. If you want to be kept up to date, please consider subscribing, and if you like what you see, leaving a like will also help letting me know what to focus on. But enough talking, let's get into it. First, we make a couple checks around the refinery area, just to be safe in the knowledge that things are going as planned. And it seems the medical university is out of stuff to research. No surprises there, that's the one with the least amount of technologies to do, apart from the repeatable population boosting one, which we will need to check back on regularly. Now, about this little red star square. Time to finalize it at last. I got a couple more decorative mods from the workshop, including buildable trees. We also have these planter plots. Sadly, they have these wooden borders around them, which makes it very hard to put them together, and not have unseemly dividers in the middle. Even if we try to put one right on top of the two, there would still be small stubs left over. There is a way to combat this though, we can just hide them with some bushes in a second. If one bush isn't enough, we can put another one in a different rotation, and that will make it denser. We only need to deal with these small plots now. I guess these 10 by 10 meter planters will do just fine for that. To maintain symmetry, I thought about adding footpaths coming in from all four sides, but those central planters are blocking it now, so we will just use textures to give the illusion of uniformity. And it seems we now know how to make steel ourselves. Once we are done with the refinery and the construction hub, that is definitely something we will need to do. For now, I just got started on the mechanical research. That's the first step towards some higher tier technologies that we will absolutely need to have. By the way, I did end up changing the mod files for the benches to make them free to build, and not require maintenance. That was the only feasible way of dealing with them, unfortunately. I really don't like it that I had to resort to that, but there was no other way. I will try my best not to do it for other stuff, but this was a special case. Now we just plant some permanent trees on top of these planters, and we can call it a day. It might not be obvious, but I pressed the R button after placing every one of these trees, so they are not all the same at first glance. And that about does it for this place. I might still come back to add a couple more bushes here and there, but the main layout should be unchanged from now on. Nice. We are already 2,000 workdays into the structural construction, and all the materials are delivered already. Shouldn't take too long now. How about we do this little courtyard next? Apart from those decorations we've seen already, I also downloaded a set of fences we can use to make these places a bit more lively. Maybe we should place the fence gate first, so we know where to aim with the middle part. Okay, we have a nice little border edge for the playground. Next, another mod, which is a simple grass texture. The only bad thing about this one is that it only works on completely flat ground, and that it is also always going to overlap with itself, so there will be some texture flickering as the fight among each other on the same Z level. But this is something that we can hide the same way we did with those planter edges, and just plant some foliage over it all. And I felt we should also maybe hide the garbage bin. It looked a bit out of place, so we put some bushes over it. Yeah, not too bad. It really does look right at home in front of this older looking apartment building. As for the refinery, it seems another 2,000 days of work just flew by already. We will be done with this in no time. And it seems we already had a couple death spikes since the last one. Thankfully, ever since we invited those extra citizens, we have enough people to naturally replenish those who were lost. Maybe instead of building another courtyard, let's build a monument display at the school. We have these slightly bigger fences, they should be right at home in front of bigger municipal buildings. And since I didn't want to give people access to this area, I didn't include a gate. Once again, we just grass over the area with the tileable textures, and then fill the rest with some trees. Okay, only 2,000 workdays left on the refinery. I think it's time to start giving higher priority to some of the other buildings in the area. We won't be able to make much use of the facility without having some crude oil coming in anyways, not to mention a place to dump the finished products. We should also not neglect the town infrastructure. Whenever possible, we should try to work on upgrading the footpaths. I wonder if the grass textures go over everything, including roads. Yep, they do. Good to know. And it seems the secret police is ready to build. We just need to let people in to work on the site. I never liked this place with the flower beds. With the new mods, I think we can do better. Only about 1,000 workdays left on the refinery. But, as I've said before, we also need to take care of everything surrounding it anyways, so this is where it will stay for a little bit, since we have other stuff on high priority now. Whoa, that was a big spike. And yet, we still had an overall increase in population, thanks to the new inhabitants. I think we will be okay from now on. As we discussed in the last episode, these spikes appear to be some kind of bug related to the garbage system, but I can pretty confidently say that it is not, I repeat, not, a garbage overflow. One of the houses is complaining about childcare. Even if it's just 2 people who couldn't work recently, it's better to take care of it now. Time for a new kindergarten. Since we have this central plot free anyways, we might as well use it. I set 4 entrances to be proper paved footpaths, but I also included a temporary one made out of regular dirt, just for the purposes of construction. Darn, I was hoping we could use these circular pieces to cover the street corners. I didn't check the quarter circle pieces from the planters, we might have better luck with those. Anyways, the secret police is done. We can start filling it with fuel, and buy the personal cars to be used by the agents. Once we finish researching the relevant technology, we can start setting some loyalty requirements in our educational facilities, so we can start boosting it a bit more effectively through schooling. Oh, right. Power. The refinery is out of range for the current substations. We will need to deal with that pretty soon, or the finished industries will be unable to operate. I really didn't know how to deal with these plots of land properly. Those square planters didn't do it for me like I thought they would. Alright. Now we know how to set loyalty targets in educational facilities. The next tech we will go for is the International Air Traffic Standards, even though I doubt we will make much use of it for a while. As for the loyalty, we should test it before doing it everywhere. Let's start with 50% in the elementary school. We will check back on it regularly, and adjust it until we find the largest percentage we can set it to, and still get teachers show up. In the meantime, the refinery finished building, and now we need to wait for the remaining infrastructure to be completed. That includes the oil pump jacks, as well as the storage tanks. And it is time to sort out the power too. We just need to add one more substation, but the local switch has no more free connections to use. So we will need to build another one, and leech off one of the lines in the area. And the town bus depot is also done. Things are happening in quick succession, let's hope I don't get too distracted. We just need to send over the old buses, and we can delete the old parking lot. Here I go again, being distracted by superfluous stuff. Don't worry, I will snap out of it in a second. This office has room for 8 buses, and we only have 4. Time to fill up all the parking spots. And let's not forget to add this new office to all the construction sites. The last thing we need is to have those buses sit idle. Okay, let's stop with the distractions, and sort out the power already. As I've said, the local switch has no more free connections, so we need to include a second one to leech off one of the lines. I am fairly confident that we can power everything with a single underground line coming in from the town transformer, but if not, we can just build another one nearby. Well, the secret police is on fire. The way the local fire service struggles to put it out only shows how important it is to hurry up with the helicopters. I wonder, if we build a small extra footpath connection, will that collection point be in range? No, it is not. Oh well, let's deal with that later. Let's check on the school next. The loyalty setting should have taken hold by now. Yeah, it seems 50% is not high enough to hit the upper limit. Let's try 60 next. And the 2 output tanks are done. We can set one to store fuel, and the other bitumen. Only smaller constructions are left to be completed, so it shouldn't take too long to get everything ready for the grand opening. And I finally remembered to reconnect this road. I kept doing it during testing between episodes, but now I did it during a live recording at last. To pass the time, I did a little more vehicle list organization in the construction offices. For example, these old concrete mixers are really outdated and inefficient, so I replaced them with the newer model. Well, that was a bit pricey. Time for another loan. And since we will have helicopters in this episode, this was not the only loan we will take out today. Another thing we can do to pass the time is the removal of this hill at the river delta. I would like to have some taller prefab apartments in the area, so it was in the way. To speed up the leveling process, we should go over it with the smoothing tool first to make it a bit less tall, and deal with the proper leveling after that. Either way, don't worry. I don't plan on doing this to the other hill on the other side of town. That one is still planned to be used for a tall monument at some point. It seems we have a bit of bedrock sticking through the dirt. As usual, this makes leveling a bit harder than usual. But it was such a small spot, I just used the leveling tool, instead of using a building like we usually do in such situations. I'm not sure if this is the final shoreline yet, but it's something we can work with. Next, the road for the next little neighborhood. This turn seems like a good spot for the intersection. As for the other end, this is what seems most logical. Only, we have a footpath in the way, so we will just get started on demolishing it, and not worry about making the final connections right at this point. If all goes well, we can fit 2, maybe 3 prefab apartment buildings in that city block. Also, let's not forget about the footpaths. As usual, we need a node on the road close to the intersection to be able to place it like we did in most instances in the city. I would like to slowly phase out these footpaths as we get further away from the center, but I think it makes sense to keep them around in this area. I don't think we can really do much with this place in this episode, so we will just leave the things to be built, and deal with the actual buildings in some later video. And things are happening at the refinery. We have oil starting to accumulate in the tank, and the helicopter landing pad is finished. We just need the actual fire station, and the power to come online, and we are set. What we can do next is the buses for the actual commuter line that will go between the town and the refinery bus stop. It's a bit of a trek, so we will need more than usual. I would say 8 should do it. And would you look at that? We have the Icarus buses already. They are quite fast, and can hold a good number of people. Definitely the one we will go for. Let's wait for them to take care of the parking and refueling, and we will sort out the route in a bit. Another fire. Can't wait to have helicopters deal with this. Relying on badly staffed fire trucks is really not optimal. Looking at our population statistics, it seemed we didn't have any death spikes since that last big one. Good, let's hope it stays that way. But, the population booster study expired in the meantime, so it's time for a renewal. As for the school loyalty test, it seems 60% is a bit high. 55% should be the current best we can really go for. And the refinery fire station is finished. At last. We are ready to start using helicopters to fight fires. There it is. Our first helicopter. Let's give it the appropriate red paint job, and leave it to do its job. As for research, after the air traffic one, we might as well do the standardized containers. And just as I clicked on the technical university, that study also finished. The next one we went for was the pipe pressure one. It won't hurt to be able to build longer pipes in the future. Anyways, the new buses should be ready by now, so let's take care of their route. They will pick workers up in town, and take them to the refinery. Now that we have helicopters in the firehouse, the bus stop isn't really necessary, but we might as well use it. It seems there's a small problem along the bus route. Clicking on the magnifying glass icon reveals that we have an unfinished segment. Nothing a small service road can't fix. Once the buses finish a single round trip on the line, they will measure the final distance, and be able to start spacing themselves out better. As for these empty lots, I just decided to fill them up with flower beds, but use them in a more interesting arrangement, not just use boring squares. And it seems the shopping center is under renovation. About time we got around to doing it, it's been in the queue for quite a while. Anyways, before we deal with the refinery, we needed another loan. That helicopter wasn't cheap, and we need to buy trucks to export the fuel and bitumen. And it seems there is quite a traffic jam at the border. Should be an easy fix, we just need to start using road signs in the problematic intersections from now on. And since we're at it, might as well place some more. Okay, things are more or less back to normal. I bet it was all thanks to the sudden need for stuff at the shopping center. Anyways, now that we have homemade fuel, it is time to set up the proper distribution for it. It is the same we used before. We just have a tank to store it in a central location, and have distribution offices take care of the deliveries. And thanks to the new storage tanks, we don't need to worry about using that huge one, we can just build a smaller one, and use that. Anyways, I took a look at the school, and 55% loyalty for teachers seems like a good balance at the moment. We can set that for every institution, and increase it as people get more and more loyal over time. As for the fuel distribution, we only need an office to take care of the deliveries. Only one for now, we will build new ones later. It seems we can go over the rail tracks if we build the office far enough. Let's play around with it, there should be a spot we can use. Yeah, that will do just fine. For now, we will use dirt road to build the office fast. As for the fuel storage, we will have an export delivery route set up in a second, and once it's done, we will just add that into the list of stops before the trucks go to the border. For the time being, 2 trucks for each product should be enough. We can add more if the need arises. And while they are busy parking and refueling, we should start expanding the oil extraction. Those 3 pumps we have active right now won't be enough forever. You know what, let's just build the whole thing, and get it over with. Before we say goodbye, let's make sure we dot our I's and cross our T's, and set up the export routes for fuel and bitumen. You know what, let's not use spacing. Let's just tell the trucks to wait for a full load at the refinery, so they use less fuel overall. We should be getting relatively close to the capacity of our houses by now, so maybe it's time to start building one of these half-finished apartment blocks. I would feel a lot better if we had at least 2 helicopters standing watch. A single one might not be able to deal with some of the bigger fires. Speaking of fires, I think at this point we can safely get rid of these 2 trucks in this station. As for the building itself, I think I will keep it around. As I've said in the last episode, the choppers in the refinery station should be able to cover everything we have at the moment, but still, no reason to be hasty. And I think this is where we will leave things. In the next episode, we will definitely get started on building the construction hub, and after that, we will start focusing on expanding the city. We need quite a few workers to staff all the industries we have at the moment, and I would like to have this place in a pretty self-sufficient state before we move on. We still need to build some kind of a distribution hub where we can store the consumer goods. That is something that I completely overlooked, but we have enough room, so it shouldn't be too much of a problem. We should be able to squeeze it all in near the branch that deals with the passengers. And we still have a lot of decorating to do. I am definitely not done with the place. Anyways, if you haven't done it already, I'd love it if you subscribe to the channel, and leaving a like would also let me know that this video was worth making. If you feel that it was good enough, and you can afford it, please consider going to my Ko-fi page, which you can find in the description, and donate an amount that you feel is appropriate. And if you did like what you've seen, there should be links to some of my other videos and playlists on the screen. Thank you for your support, and I'll see you in the next one.